Hi, welcome to History Talks. I'm your host, Will. This is Sebastian. In this episode, we continue our series on ancient Rome, and we will be discussing Sulla and the early life of Julius Caesar. So, Sebastian, tell me, who was Sulla, and how did he come to power?
Sulla was a consul elected in 90 BC. He became very notable in politics after the Social War, which we brought up in our previous episode. During the Social War, Sulla was a praetor, the second highest elected office in Rome. As praetor, he was able to use his power to help lead many Romans to victory and played an instrumental part in Rome's victory in the Social War.
Okay, so Sulla proved himself as a military commander and was rewarded with public office, but was there anyone opposed to his command?
Yes. Marius, who we brought up in our previous episode, was quite displeased with Sulla due to Sulla getting much of the credit and thus command of the armies. Marius had too participated and been helpful in the Social War, and he wanted command of the army that was meant to fight the Mithridatic War.
So we had a rivalry between Sulla and Marius, and how did that turn out?
It ended with Sulla marching on Rome.
Wow, wait a minute, did you just say that Sulla marched on Rome? So a Roman general took his army and marched on his own capital.
I know. And the reason he was even able to do this at all is because of the reforms we had mentioned in the previous episode, which made soldiers more tied to their commander than to Rome.
That's right, we had talked about how the land requirement, the requirement that a man owns land in order to be part of the Roman army, that had been removed, and therefore the Roman army, the soldiers, were less tied to the land and were therefore more loyal to their commanders. So their commanders had more power to do such a move.
Yes. And when he marched on Rome, it wasn't a coup per se. All he did was exile Marius, but it did establish that he had power over the Senate through his force of arms. And this would become more important a bit later, because after the Mithridatic Wars, there was an incident in Illyria, which is where Croatia is now. During this incident, Sulla's co-consul went to deal with the incident. However, it ended with the co-consul dying as a result of a mutiny. And with no quick way to replace the consul, Sulla saw this as his opportunity to act. He took his army to Rome once more, this time not just to make a small demand, but to demand a new office. Dictator legibus faciendis et republicae constituende causa. In English, the dictator for the making of laws and for the settling of the Constitution.
Wow. So a military commander who also oversees laws. That sounds a lot like a king.
And, a smart politician obviously wouldn't bring that up. Especially not Sulla himself, you know.
Right, knowing that being a king was not considered a good thing in the Roman Republic.
However, regardless, he did take power, and his power-taking was inspirational to one man in particular, Gaius Julius Caesar, or, as he is better known in English, Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar, that sounds familiar. Where have I heard that name before?
Yep. He was born in 100 BC. His father had the same name as him and was a praetor himself, so things already looked up for Caesar, but Caesar had more than just that. He was ambitious. So ambitious that when he saw what Sulla did, his thoughts were not, that's cool. His thoughts were, I could do better. And thought that he did. You see, during Sulla's reign, he had to hide away because he was the nephew of Marius, but Sulla eventually retired. He doubled the size of the Senate, he enacted some other minor reforms, but ultimately he willingly retired at the end and died in his country villa due to alcohol, probably.
That's significant. So Sulla had been declared dictator. He could have held on to power for quite some time, yet he didn't. He enacted some reforms, and then he decided he wanted to retire to the countryside to go live a quiet, peaceful life.
Yeah, and this held some significance, but the main significance it held for Caesar can be best described through a quote attributed to Caesar, which is, "Sulla doesn't know the political ABCs."
Wow.
Yep. Caesar mocked Sulla for this, and when Sulla died, Caesar came out of hiding, and at first he had a brief stint as a lawyer. However, while he was in hiding, he had gained connections with an Asian commander, and this would become relevant after he was captured by pirates. The pirates demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver. Caesar's response? You should have demanded 50.
So Caesar was insulted that the pirates thought he was only worth 20 talents of silver.
Exactly. And after paying the ransom, he used this connection to get an army to find the pirates, round them up, capture them, and to not only recover all of the ransoms they had taken, but to have them publicly crucified under Caesar's orders.
Impressive.
Yes, and it was very impressive from the people's perspective, because this landed him a job as a military tribune, later as a praetor, and he was on track to have a good, successful career as a general. But even that wasn't good enough for Caesar, and the catalyst for him to start fully realizing his ambition came when he was in what is now Spain. He found a statue of Alexander the Great, and in front of it he knelt and wept. And the reason he wept is because he had come to the realization that he had done far less than Alexander had when he was the same age.
Wow, so Caesar was full of ambition, and we will discuss how he carried out his ambitions in the next episode of the History Talks.
Yep, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out our other episodes if you have not seen them. Thank you for watching.